All right, guys, how's it going out there? Rooster in Tennessee, roostercb.com, and this is a customer combination test video, RCI69 base plus plus. I call it the plus plus because it's the newest version. You can tell by the LEDs, has the fan kit on the back of it. And then we've got a Carl Built 600 HD. So really, when you ask what kind of amp to run with one of these, if you're going to stay with a transistor amp, this is pretty much what I recommend. Because it does a little bit much to drive just a regular 4-pill. Now, you could go with a 4-pill C-box if you wanted to, but for a standard 4-pill, it's a little bit hot for it, and it underdrives a 6 just a little bit. But it's better to underdrive it a little bit than to overdrive it. So we'll start out, we'll show you what the radio's doing. I like these a lot. I've got one of the Striker 76 noise cancelers on here. These have become pretty popular. People buying a lot of them. Hello, 1, 1, 2. Audio, check, audio. We got the reverb going there, so and notice how high we had our mic gain. No squeal with this microphone on here. But we'll test them out together. This one does have sideband. I'll talk about, how to set it up for sideband a little bit. The customer did request I do this video because he wanted kind of a reference to kind of see where everything was set at. So we'll be sure and get close to the controls and everything. That way he's set up for success and not failure. Now, I do want to talk about these radios a little bit. Being a base radio, a mistake that some people are making here, guys, is when they go from AM, which is where we're set up right now, to sideband, they tend to want to turn this RF power up on sideband to watch the watt meter move a little bit more. I'm telling you, the best advice I can give anybody out there is set your stuff up to run on AM, and when you go to sideband, leave it where it's at, maybe turn it up just a little bit. Because sideband draws more current, and the failures that people have, however few and far between they are, they're happening on sideband. Because they're putting the power supply in a bind, run the radio wide open on a sideband. So again, very few and far between people have issues with this radio, but generally when they do, I ask them, I say, well, what were you doing when it failed? Well, I was talking on sideband. There you go. Okay, so with that being said, we've got a 250 watt slug in our meter. We kind of just want to get our basis here and see kind of what kind of power we're going to be putting into it. Now this isn't, I don't know, our dead key may end up changing. We may end up putting more or less. But that's a 250 watt slug, and you could say we're running around, give or take, probably an 8 to 10 watt dead key. So top scale, hello, audio. 50 average right there. Again, that's under driving the 6-pill just a little bit. It can take, 70, 80 average, somewhere like that. It's not going to hurt it. Hello, audio. And we're right there around 50. Now, how much is our PEP? And we're plugged into a surge protector too, so it could come up a little bit. Not much, though. This is about what you're going to expect. 150 watts PEP. Audio, check. Audio, check. Audio. Again, a little much for a 4-pill standard. Not enough to max out the 6. Now, just for kicks, if you guys say, well, 50 average from 10 watts, 8 watts. If we turn our RF power up some, we make it swing more. But here's the deal. 20 watts right there, that's way too much going into our 6-pill. We don't want a 20 watt dead key going into it. We're just going to back it down. Hello. You guys see if you turn it all the way down, hello, it falls down to about 20 average. It's just the way these export radios work, guys. So we'll get down there back around our 10 watt or so dead key. We'll turn our amp on, we'll readjust it as we need to. Again, I'm doing this video partially for the customer. I don't know how much experience they do or don't have running a setup like this. I know it's always nerve-wracking when you hook something up that you're not used to fooling with. 1,000 watt box may not be a lot to some people, but somebody's never had anything like this. It can be nerve-wracking. It can be the same thing as, hooking up a 20 kW amp. Let's turn our 6-pill on. And what I'm going to do, my advice, if you're running a setup that you've never ran before, especially transistor amps, you think, well, man, I don't really know where to set my dead key at. Well, I'll just start up here. Yep, that's a good way to blow your amp up, because as you guys already saw, this thing goes up to, 20, 30 watts dead key. We're probably at 20 or 30 watts right there. We key that into the 6-pill, it's only going to take a couple of times to blow it up. So don't ever, in my opinion, my advice, you guys do what you want. Don't ever start with your RF power like way up here and think, that's about right. Start out with it all the way down, and what you can do is you just key the mic, like, oh, well, I'm not putting out any power, so, and just slowly roll your dead key up until you get it where you want it. Now that's about 180 watt dead key. If you're somebody that's going to be long-winded, I probably wouldn't run it there. I'd probably cut it on back. But if you're just intermittently talking, you talk for 30 seconds, listen for 30 seconds, that's fine. I think that's about where Carl recommends to run it. He's got the recommendations on the back. But I think about 180 watt dead key is the max recommended dead key coming out of this. I may be off on that. If I am, that's my recommendation. Okay, you can do more. You can do you can do less. I probably wouldn't say more, but you can do less if you want to. Okay, so here you go for the customer. To get that, again, your setup could be different. We're testing at 15 volts over here. That's the max amount to put onto the HG transistor, HG2879. But right here's where you're at, a little bit less than 9 o'clock. So let's see how it does. Again, guys, only put in, 50 average, 45 average, something like that. Let's see how she reacts. And 150 PEP. AM first. Ooh, audio. Audio. So again, the average power is a little bit on the low side, but again, we're only putting 50 average into it, so that's to be expected. Or 45. We'll double check it again at the end if we can remember. Now your PEP. And I'm expecting it to, because the PEP, obviously a good bit higher than the average there. I mean, we're putting 1,000 watts to the wall. How much are we drawing current-wise? See, it's acting like a 4-pill kind of, even the amount of current that it's drawing, because the average power from our radio isn't pushing it as hard. But you have a choice to make when you're picking which amp to run with it. You either underdrive the 6 a little bit, or you overdrive the 4. Me, I'm going to underdrive. So now what we're going to do, we're just going to go to sideband here. And I'm not going to touch the RF power. I'm going to leave it where it's at, and we'll kind of get a measurement. And then I'll kind of adjust the RF power if we need to get kind of a max to set it on sideband. Okay, so now we're on upper sideband. And we've got our meter on average power. I'm not too concerned about the PEP. I just want to make sure we're not doing too much average. And we're not. So there you go. We can actually afford to turn the RF power up some. Because you guys see it was doing less than 200. Again, safe bet most of the time is just to leave it where it's at. But if you want to turn it up some, hello, audio. 400 average. That's at about 10. Maybe a little bit more than 10, but between 10 and 20 there. And that's not the max, but that's a pretty good safe number to run it at on a sideband. How much PEP is that? Audio, check 1, 2, 3. Audio. About 1,000 PEP. Now the thing about the RF power on sideband on these, on AM, your PEP is going to be the same no matter what. You can turn this all the way down, all the way up. Your PEP, peak output, is not going to change. On sideband, the RF power is going to vary your peak output and your average power output. Average power swing, your modulated average power. Let's just see how much current it's drawing where we've got it set now. So again, we're in the safe zone with it. We're not overdrawing it. If you don't have a reliable watt meter, which I recommend everybody to have one, you can always check a clamp meter to get kind of an idea. You don't really want this 6-pill, even on sideband, if this thing is drawing like 90 to 100 amps, you probably want to back your drive down a little bit. You want to keep it right there. You know, we could probably turn it up a little bit, make it draw just a little bit more. You know, almost 60 there. A little bit over 60 there. Audio. See how it translates to the watt meter? We're still on average. Audio. That's 500 average. Does the PEP change a little bit? It probably came up just a little. Audio. A little bit over 1,000. Again, just for reference, now our RF power is at 12 o'clock. But here's where a lot of people get into trouble. And I'm being a lot more thorough with this video than I normally am, so forgive me guys if I'm getting on your nerves. But I'm trying to kind of do a demonstration for the customer and show people how easy it is to run into a problem. Not only with your radio, but you can absolutely kill your amplifier this way too. So let's just say that we're a CBer. We like talking on AM and we like talking on sideband. We're talking to our sideband buddies last night. We got up this morning and our AM crowd's on there. And we said, well, I was on sideband, they'll go back to AM here, and you got your amplifier running. You don't think twice about it. You key this radio up on AM with the RF power at 12 o'clock. Again, like I mentioned earlier in the video, you risk serious damage to the 6-pill, okay? Stuff happens like this all the time. That's why you can't warranty amplifiers, because user error can be at an all-time high when it comes to this stuff. It's not like going home and plugging in your television and buying an Amazon Fire Stick and putting it in there. There's so many things that can happen with radio equipment that's out of the manufacturer's or the seller's control, actually. But again, just to show you guys, if there's any doubt, let's just see what kind of dead key we've got going when we turn our power to halfway here. 1,000 watt slug. Let's take that out and put our 250 in. Again, this is going to be, if we were set up for our max power on sideband, we just happen to go back to AM. Wow. 25 watts. Now remember, the recommended max dead key we tested earlier was 8 to 10 watts. We're putting 3 times that much into the amplifier if we make that mistake. Again, bye-bye birdie if that happens. So, just a word of caution to you guys. Again, I tell you this stuff because I've done it. I've seen people do it. It's to help you, not to sound like a condescending kind of jerk or anything. It's to try to help people from having trouble. Again, my recommendation, keep it simple. Set your stuff up on AM. You want to talk on sideband? This is the only knob you need to be touching. Okay? One last thing I want to talk about sideband. These radios, they're more stable than most. Ranger is better than like Galaxy and stuff like that when it comes to sideband, but still, you want them to sit for about 15 minutes before they really line up on frequency. And this is something else I get people saying sometimes. Well, my neighbor, he told me that I'm off frequency on sideband. Okay? Consider the source when someone tells you that. What kind of radio are they talking on? Are they talking on a Cobra 2000 that hasn't been aligned and capped since it was made? You know, hasn't been realigned? Or are they talking on something like an ICOM or a Yaesu or a Kenwood? Okay, those radios are pretty reliable on sideband. They're designed for sideband. Are these radios really designed for sideband? In my opinion, they're AM, FM radio that's sideband capable. Okay, they're better than most. You know, better than Galaxy and stuff like that, in my opinion. But sideband is just an extra option on there. You notice they don't have a 6-digit on the frequency counter. All of your HF rigs, ICOM, Yaesu, Kenwood, they're all going to have the 6-digit, maybe even more sometimes. So, and they're VFO controlled. So again, that's something else to think about. Someone tells you off frequency on sideband. I had a customer the other day tell me, hey man, I got a group of guys over here, they're telling me I'm off frequency on sideband. Okay, maybe he is. It's possible. However, If all those guys are talking on old radios and stuff like that, and they've been used to adjusting each other in on sideband, and you have a newcomer come in that's actually on frequency, people can confuse that and think the newcomer's the one that's off. So I'm not saying, you know, he could have been off. It's possible, but it's just something to think about. All right, guys, sorry, video ran a little bit long. We'll talk about a couple of things, so take the time, make the most out of this video. Discuss, you know, going back and forth between sideband, AM, setting your radio up to talk on either one. You know, there's a lot of confusion and a lot of destruction happens sometimes when people are bouncing back and forth between AM and sideband. Alrighty, appreciate everybody. Rooster in Tennessee, roostercb.com. Hopefully this has been a good video for the customer and maybe help someone else in the process. Thanks, everybody. Catch you out there. roostercb.com. See you, bye.